Morning. During the last 3 weeks, we've had a message series on healing. And if there's one factor or one item that you can pull away from this, is that it's so important that we understand, that we truly believe that when we come in contact with Jesus, we will come away healed. Jesus wills for us to be healed. In today's gospel, the leper knew that Jesus could heal him. He even said it. And Jesus responded, "I do will it. Be made clean." If there were a way that we could be healed of what ails us, like we spoke about in the first week of this series, we would want to know about it, wouldn't we? Last week we spoke about the healing sacraments in an effort to help each one of us accept Christ's healing touch for ourselves spiritually. The hope is that we heard that message and take it to heart. That's the first step. What's next? This week we are talking about healing, taking that healing out into the world. Why? Because there are so many people out there who have not heard Jesus' message. There are people out there who are struggling. There are people separated from society who have no one to love and believe that no one loves them. They're like modern-day lepers. You know, although leprosy still exists, I'm not literally talking about those afflicted with this illness. I'm talking about those in our community, right here, that we treat as if they were lepers. Some of them you may find surprising. They're often invisible. They blend in. We are so used to seeing them that we can go through our lives and not really notice them among them. They are among us, but they are separated from us. Any idea who they are? Well, one group might be teenagers. Back in the day, remember hearing that children were to be seen but not heard? Well, now society doesn't even want to see them because we don't know what to do with them. We place way too much pressure on teens today. They face family and societal expectations to achieve and mature and take on the world before they are ready. For a whole lot, they amount to little more than buying units in our media. They are expected to be older, and they are, so they can spend their money on buy faddish items. Then there's the opposite problem, where some teens aren't allowed to grow up, aren't allowed to take on responsibilities as they can assume them or experience disappointment. They are protected and isolated from the realities of the world. And when reality hits them, they can't deal with it. So it shouldn't be a surprise that a lot of our teens act out. And I know that's happened in every generation. But being around teenagers can be such a challenge that sometimes we simply don't know what to do with them. To avoid the challenge, we hardly even acknowledge their existence unless they are our own. Sad because they have so much to offer and so much to say, and a lot of people aren't willing to listen. They are so hopeful and so distressed at the same time. Yet, I wonder why there isn't a line of people waiting to help in our youth ministry, to work with these kids. We have several dedicated souls, but you would think there'd be a line to help them. Only a few want to get involved. And teens are some of the lepers among us. If we look, we will realize that society's lepers are all around us: the poor, the homeless, the alcoholic, the drug addict, the lonely, the grieving widow, the grieving widower, the recently divorced, the single parent, the immigrant. We are called to reach out to them and extend a hand even if we don't want to touch them. There is a blog that some of us may have heard of called Humans of New York. The blogger Photographer Brandon Stanton met a 13-year-old boy named Vidal Chastanet in Brownsville, a neighborhood with one of the highest crime rates in New York City. He asked, "Who has influenced you the most in your life?" And Chastanet's answer was his school principal, Nadia Lopez. Vidal said he admired her because when we get in trouble, she doesn't suspend us. She called us to her office and explains to us how society was built around us, down around us. And she tells us that each time somebody falls out of school, a new jail cell gets built. My own son had trouble through high school. He once told me that he just didn't think they wanted him there. Little did he know he took the same route that his old man did. He made it. He made it. He's now doing very well. But when he told me he just didn't think the school wanted him there, it kind of exposed something. Nadia Lopez adjusted the rules in order to love these children, and in doing so, she healed them, one at a time. She touched the lepers in our society. Once we identify who they are, we need the courage to live our call to discipleship and reach out and touch them as Jesus did. It's called charity. Charity is just another word for love. It's not something we do. It's who we are as Catholic Christians. Here at St. Peter, St. Vincent de Paul Society serves the needy within our parish boundaries in various ways through visits through their homes. They go into these people's homes to help. They touch them. Our extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion bring Jesus to the hospitalized and the homebound, the people who can no longer join us at Mass. One of our deacons is extensively involved with prison ministry. He brings the healing hand of Jesus to those most in need of forgiveness. Another deacon participates in the Kairos movement, an ecumenical effort, actually a lay effort, where men spend a 4-day weekend with prisoners to share the transforming love and forgiveness of Jesus Christ. There are parishioners who minister to those addicted to drugs and alcohol as well, clearly lepers in our society because of the stigma attached. We have a bereavement ministry to offer support for all those who have lost loved ones. The parish also offers a program to help those who have gone through a divorce. We have an ecumenical outreach program called Peace, working with local and state governments to help our teens through introducing diversion programs instead of incarceration for our youth offenders, as well as dealing with homelessness and community ID programs. If we venture further, if we dare to venture further outside of our comfort zone, we need only walk a short distance and find people who live below the poverty line, right here in our little corner of paradise. Of course, they have the courtesy to disappear into the walls of society, but imagine how it would make them feel to see one of us simply extend a hand, a helping hand. When Jesus reached out to to touch the man with leprosy, he took a risk himself, not only illness, but also breaking the law when touching the unclean. He rejected the law in order to love another human being, and in doing so, he healed him. Another law broken and a step closer to the cross. But he took the risk. Here's a question for each of us. When was the last time I took a risk? When was the last time I broke away from that daily grind and did something outside of my comfort zone for the good of another? Where can I take some real risk? Where can I touch a leper? We can help each other take that risk. We have the opportunity to join any of our service ministries. Simply stop at one of the kiosks. All of this is simply stewardship of time, because time is really all that is required. for us to physically touch those in need. When we do, we may see the face of Christ in the needy and find that we, by coming in contact with him, have been given a new heart. Love is a risk business, isn't it? If you feel as though there's emptiness in your life, fill it up. We in the church have an effective way to bring Christ's love to humanity. All we have to do is sign up and show up. When you reach out and touch one of these New World lepers, teens, elderly, poor, immigrants, sick, the imprisoned, the addicted, you may be touching Jesus. And when you do that, you're healing yourself. It's as if we are saying to Jesus, if you wish, Lord, you can make me clean. And he looks at you and says, I do will it.